Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah.
Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in the back of a can. You can make it round the world when the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. It's a popcorn world. The popcorn world.
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Hey y'all, it's your man Lloyd Spence, and look, you can find all of the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA and NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, fights, and even next season's NFL futures, all at BetOnline, because BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. So, very easy. It's very, very easy. All you have to do is go to the website today and use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just go to BetOnline. It's where the game starts.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Fern Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course, Mama Noise's man, Lloyd Smith. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
We are back after a small little hiatus, vacation. Okay, it wasn't a vacation. None of us were vacating. It was just, we weren't here. But we're back. We got better sound. So that's something. We're all excited. That's something else.
Charlie
Ward is here. I look like he's ready for a mafia business meeting. Can you hear us, Charlie? Oh, no, we talked about better sound, and then Charlie can't hear us. Okay, Charlie, can you go back out and come back in? Can you see my go back out, come back in, go back out, come back in? Can you see my?
I don't know the sign language.
Oh, something just happened. I heard him knock something around.
Well, I took my earplugs out. Let me see if this work again.
Try it again, Charlie. You sound great now. I mean,
okay. I hear you.
There we go. There we go. See, we just needed a second. We just need a second to get it. We promised the people good sound, and that's what we go give them.
Okay.
All right, that's what we go give them. It's great to see everybody. We got hopefully a really interesting show, impactful show, just in thought and in concept today. On BLEAV in the ACC, it's kind of a hodgepodge of things to discuss. Because we've been gone for a little while. Last time we were here, we were talking about the draft. Now the draft has passed us by, and it was an interesting one for the ACC. A lot of interesting players were selected. Some fan favorites here on this show were selected and have to go home.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our picks were selected.
A lot of our picks absolutely were selected.
Including Sam Howell.
Yes.
Yes, Sam Howell was selected.
Is he going to the Commodores?
Yes,
Apparently, the only meat he eats is chicken. You see this one?
I saw that, that is the weirdest story ever. But we definitely got to get into that. Let's run through it real quick. In the first round, the first ACC player went off at number 6. I can never pronounce this kid's name.
Aquanu.
See, this is why we have Charlie Ward around for things like this.
You can say Clemson's quarterback, but you can't say that one.
You're right. I haven't spent as much time with this one as I have with Clemson. But he went off to the Panthers at number 6, number 17. Zion Johnson from Boston College went to the Chargers, which I thought was a little high, but whatever. The dog seems to approve. Maybe the most shocking pick of the first round, Kenny Pickett, went to the Steelers.
Why?
At number 20. I just didn't think he was going to be the guy to go first, quarterback to go first. In my opinion, I didn't think he was, but he did.
Well, I mean,
I felt like if a quarterback hadn't been picked by the time the Steelers picked, I figured it was probably going to be him.
You thought it was going to be Pickett? Wow, okay.
They kept him in the same city.
They kept him in the same city. Well, I think I was going to say, I think that's one of the reasons why they did it is because they knew him. They'd seen him. They've seen him all season. So why take a risk on a guy you've never really, you don't have as much information on. So, and then maybe the most surprising steal, in my opinion, came from the Jets at number 26 with my fan favorite, Jermaine Johnson, going to the Jets at number 26. I thought that was a steal of a pick.
The Jets did pretty good in the draft.
I think the Jets did amazing in the draft. I know people don't want to claim. We're not allowed to claim Notre Dame because technically they're independent in football. But we are claiming Kyle Hamilton as an ACC pick.
He played in the championship game.
I'm just saying.
2 years ago.
I'm just saying.
His
Charlie.
signature play came in the ACC game down in Tallahassee. I can't remember who they were playing.
You can't listen. You're not going to date her.
Whitney says she doesn't approve of that.
She didn't like the Kyle Hamilton pick. Okay.
Yeah, she didn't like that comment that was just made by Mr. Kendrick Haskins.
He snuck one in. True to form, he snuck one in. He absolutely did. Some other picks of note in the second round, Andrew Booth went to the Vikings. Andrew Booth from Clemson. In the third round, we took we being the Giants, took Joshua Izudu. I have that name down. From North Carolina. Jelani Woods went.
You know how bad I was hoping the Giants would take Sam Howell.
My team is smarter than that now. Not always. Listen, historically, in the last 10 years, that would have been true. But lately we've been this was a good draft for us as well. So in the fourth round, Damari Mathis went to the Broncos from Pittsburgh. Zach Tom went to Wake Forest. And of course, Kendrick's and Charlie's deep man crush, Sam Howell, went to the Commanders in the fifth round. I guess to me that was the most Washington thing to do is to take Sam Howell. That's on brand for me. Was not surprised by that.
I don't think that myself or Charlie have a deep crush on Sam Howell. We just like the
you just like messing with me. Well, duly noted.
Also, the GM for the Commodores is from Florida State.
Why you keep calling the Commodores? You just not like Commanders?
The Commodores is funnier.
If Commodores is way funnier. Let me just be clear.
Lionel Richie and those, I like them better.
Okay, well listen.
Commanders. We
can set a hard and fast rule for this show that hereforward they are the Commodores, the Washington Commodores. And they are easy to beat like Sunday morning. How's that?
There you go.
It's said and it is done.
Ty Chandler, the running back from North Carolina, went to the Vikings. Marcus McKeithen, we took him to the Giants. We just like North Carolina guy. But from what I understand, there's actually a relationship there where
that's what surprises me.
Yeah. There's a relationship there, so I get it. James Mitchell to the Lions and tight end. The 6th round, Amari Barno from Virginia Tech went to the Panthers. Luke Tenuta went to the Bills from Virginia Tech. Ja'Sir Taylor went to the Chargers from Wake Forest. These names are amazing. Lecitus Smith went to the Cardinals from Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech had a good 6th round. And then wrapping it all up, Tariq Carpenter from Georgia Tech went to the Packers. Balin Spector from Clemson went to the Bills. Jonathan Ford went to the Packers from Miami. And Trenton Gill to the Bears from NC State. So that is the ACC draft, as it were. 21 players in all from the ACC went into this year's draft. Which one was the more impressive, or not impressive, but which one do you think is a good fit and you like the most out of those guys?
Probably Johnson at the Jets.
But I mean, I think all of them. I mean, as far as not all of them, but the top picks anyway.
Yeah.
I think are good fits because the Panthers need somebody to block.
Desperately.
And so, I think that was a good pick. Offensive lineman. He's a solid player. And Jermaine, of course, a lot of people thought he dropped, but I mean, you dropped to where I always say, Jets is a team in transition. Seemed like they were always in transition, but
perpetual transition.
Yeah, but hopefully they can keep a coach around, keep a GM, and continue to draft well, and the young guys, play well. But it's heartening to see. Like I was in New York for quite some time, and to see the Giants and the Jets, and even the Knicks, everybody's going through these instability transitions. I mean, they haven't figured that part out. So again,
but even Brooklyn's about to be.
Oh, they're the same.
They seem like they're in transition too.
I think the challenge of what is taking place in New York, well, it's ironic that the Jets and the Giants are kind of going through the same thing, which is they've lost. Well, I don't know if the Jets are that. I know for the Giants for sure, they lost their identity as a culture of what they were. Historically, the Giants have been defense, run the ball, some passing, but we're going to win on the defensive side of the ball. And somehow, in the midst of that, or in the midst of the transition of time, we lost the complete identity of the team, which I get because that's what happens in football. The trends come and you see people doing certain things, and you're not able to keep up with what you do. So you say, well, maybe we should change. So you start chasing the latest trends and you lose who you are. And now this draft for me was kind of getting back to that. They were like, okay, let's go get the edge rush that we need. Let's go get the lineman that we need. We're going to win this game in the trenches. And so they did. So I say that to say maybe that's what everybody was doing in the Jets, same thing. The Jets seem to have a very specific draft. And I was like, wow, they're really like locked in. Like they're getting the guys they need as opposed to chasing. Because they kept saying before the draft, we're going to take the best available, which is one of the scariest things to say. Because just because you're taking the best available don't mean he's fitting any need that you have on your team. But that's not what they did. So that was really I was very happy with how the draft turned out.
The best thing that happened to the Giants, which was unfortunate for me because I loved when he was there because he was so bad, was them getting rid of Gettleman. I wanted him to stay forever.
Sure you did. Sure you did. And
who do you root for?
I'm a Cowboys fan.
He's a Cowboys fan.
Their draft was just we'll see.
And his owner is going to stay forever.
Oh yeah, he's too honored to go away.
Forever.
So misery loves company. So I love that we get over.
I totally understand. I'll say this. I thought everybody in that first round, with the exception of Pickett, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I thought Malik Willis' upside was greater. I could be wrong, but I felt like his upside is greater. Now
he fits the mold more of what quarterbacks are looking like today, but
not Pittsburgh.
But Pickett is a.
And that's this.
Yeah.
I think that was just a situational thing. If Pittsburgh didn't need a quarterback, then I think the kid from Liberty goes first. But Pittsburgh needed a quarterback. He's in the backyard, and he kind of fits that mold. He kind of looks like Roethlisberger when Roethlisberger first came into the league before the weight game. But I just think that was a situational thing more than it was his skill set's better than his skill set.
Well, and think about this as well. Kenny Pickett is not going to be asked to do much.
He's not going to be asked to run to the sideline. To get
We didn't even line it up this time.
I should have known this was coming at some point.
I'm just saying, he's going to be so excited that he can stand in the huddle and get the play.
Is there going to be an adjustment, Charlie?
It's going to be a huge adjustment.
It's a huge adjustment for him.
I want to be very clear. The first time he runs to the sideline for anything, I'm literally calling you on the phone that day.
He might do it out of habit, not even
I never say
to do it
he
anymore.
might go autopilot.
Right. Look, you created such a mindset about it. They even the listeners are like, I knew that was coming. Shout out to Jacob Payne. I really like. I don't know. I don't know if I don't love the Kenny Pickett thing. But I don't. I have not.
You also got to think they also kind of leery with the ghost of Dan Marino. Pittsburgh guy, born and raised in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
they don't get him,
and they let him out the city. Yeah. So,
but what do you don't like about him? Because I think he's fine. He's a solid quarterback. I mean, for him to do what he did at Pitt, not saying that Pitt's a bad. I mean, he had the top receiver as well.
So therein lies where my not issue is, but my challenge of taking him at that spot. I think it's where they took him that really makes me go, because do you take a kid who is not going to mess up, or do you take a kid who potentially could be great? In the first round, does it make sense? Like if they had taken him in the fifth, like Sam Howell, I'm like, oh, perfect pick.
No. Pickett he's a first-round quarterback. I mean, if you start thinking about all the quarterbacks that have gone 1 and 2 and 3, earlier, he's very similar. This year, it just didn't fall that way for the teams that were choosing because they didn't need quarterbacks. But I think Pickett, is a guy. We said it throughout the season, though, that he's a guy that you can trust. You knew he's going to bring each and every game, and he was basically carrying his team. I mean, he made decisions to run the ball, put him in good situations, and so I just thought he was a solid quarterback. Not saying that Malik Willis is not. I just, as we've seen, taking a quarterback is not a guaranteed thing. But you have to, as I go back and say, you have to start looking at characteristics as opposed to just straight talent. because the characteristics that he brings is very, very similar to what they're accustomed to. And like you said, they watched him because they've seen him, in the same city basically, and the same stadium. And so I just think it was a good pickup for them because they need a quarterback.
Yeah. And also quietly, I thought the Ravens getting Kyle Hamilton was nice. That worked out. But I know Lamar is not happy, but
that situation is kind of weird.
Well, it is, but
I feel like Hollywood Brown kind of stabbed Lamar in the back on that one.
Well, he absolutely stabbed him in the back. But I think it may work out to their favor because they're not. I don't know if with Lamar, if they're ever going to be this dynamic, we throw the ball down the field, Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills type team. I think they're a running, smash mouth football team. And they've again historically won by defense. That's what they've done. So I think they're getting back to their real identity by not going after guys that they don't necessarily have to have.
Well, you need receivers.
You do need receivers.
You do need a receiver.
Okay. What kind of style you have in the NFL? You need some good receivers. But they did stock up on tight ends, right?
They got tight ends. They got running backs.
They got receivers on the
roster. hey, they got tight ends. They got running backs aplenty. And there's still some receivers out there in free agency that they can still go get. One in particular that I think they should go get is Jarvis Landry. I mean, he's sitting out there waiting on somebody to call him. So why not? I mean, for what you want him to do, he might be perfect for everything that they need. I don't know. But
Odell.
Well, Odell, the only problem with Odell, you're not going
to
right. You're not going to see him until January.
I do like Jarvis Landry, and I feel like he's not going to take the top off the defense. They need another receiver who can do that. But yeah, I mean, mix those. You get Jarvis Landry. I think he'd be really good in that system. And I said, if you get another receiver who's a speedster, you know what I'm saying, who's a deep threat.
Well, that's what Rashad Bateman is supposed to be.
Mixed with the 17 tight ends.
Listen, why are we hating them for having a 4 tight end package?
They drafted 3 of them. They drafted 3 of them back to back.
Listen,
they already had 4.
Because they need blocking. They're going to run the ball down your throat from everywhere. And I think they're going to convert those running backs into receivers in some form or fashion.
They're going to be like the Packers with Paul Horning. That's what their offense is.
Exactly.
Star.
Exactly. But interesting, very interesting draft to say the least. Okay, let's jump. I'm ready to get into this other thing because I'm ready to hear this epic rant that I think might be coming from Charlie Ward today. This has been in the last couple of weeks. This has been very interesting. Listen, I've been with you for almost 2 years now. I kind of know where this is going. So in the last couple of years, we've seen some of the most challenging shifts in college football that we've ever seen. And they've come in the combination of the transfer portal coupled with now name, image, and likeness, also known as the NIL. And this year, it's kind of funny because all these articles keep coming about it. They broke a record for a transfer portal. Well, come on now. The transfer portal, as it is currently constructed, has only been around 1.5 years, 2 years. So of course they broke a record. People are just figuring out what the heck it is. But there were 2,600 kids in the transfer portal or are in the transfer portal. What's interesting is that now coaches are complaining because of the combination of transfer portal and NIL. And they're saying these kids are being offered some deals quietly, and this ain't right. One in particular is a coach that our Kendrick Haskins covers quite often. Now, I'll be honest with you, the story that this receiver was paid or offered a deal by Alabama is bizarre to me. The first time I heard it, I was like, this makes no sense.
It's
Because
bizarre
why would
to me, too,
Alabama
because-
offer anybody anything other than a scholarship?
Hold up. Alabama is no different than all the rest of them. Let's
Right.
get that straight.
Okay,
Alabama's-
all right.
And you know, Charlie, I mean, I'm 100% agree with you. That's not what I was surprised about that they offered. I'm surprised that they offered that kid. That kid's barely played at U of L. He's been there
That's
for
what I
4
was-
years.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Well, that was the other. Go ahead, Charlie.
I was like, who is the kid?
I was wondering where are these highlights that I'm missing from the dominance on the football field that he showed to be offered anything.
He's a speedster. I mean, he was the fastest player on the team. He's been the fastest player on the team since he's been on the roster. But he hadn't seen the field until last year. No significant time. He had a couple good games, but he got hurt. And so I'm like, does it surprise me that Alabama offered somebody money? No. But that they offered that kid a significant amount of money. I don't know what they saw to make an offer, but
Yeah.
But at the same time, would you be surprised if he goes there and turns into
No,
Jones or something?
No, and the answer, the easy, quick answer to that is no, because and maybe that's why Coach Satterfield is offended, because
well, he's offended because he needed him. U of L needed him, but I mean,
Alabama
it's always
wanted
something shady.
I just wouldn't have poked the bear like that. I would just kept it probably mainstream instead of trying to call somebody out, and especially if you weren't 100% sure on the tampering deal, because I saw an article where he said he wasn't sure about it, and man, let's just call it for what it is. These guys are being tampered with, especially if you're on a team that's not doing very well. I know Coach Norvell talked about some of his players being offered opportunities, and at the ACC meetings this past week, I think it was. And this is happening all over the place. Everybody's players are getting tampered. And when we talk about tampering, this is very similar to, and people saying, well, like, we didn't do this. You're doing it, because if I had Kendrick go and talk to someone from Louisville, and to play on my team,
that's tampering.
That's tampering.
Yeah.
I mean, because Kendrick and I have a relationship. I don't have to talk to the kid or his parents, but that is what's going on, essentially.
It's the same plausible deniability.
I was just sitting there thinking that.
It's the same plot when they say, I'm not looking into a job because
I'm not looking into the job.
Yeah, that person's not, but your agent is.
Right.
Same thing.
But let me just say this. I believe there was a podcast that talked about this prior to and said this is exactly what's going to happen. So this is not surprising to us in any way. And let's just be honest, unless there is a tremendous rule change coming down the pipe, which there won't be, because despite the complaints of several big name coaches like Dabo and others, I don't think there's an end in sight, because the ketchup's out the bottle. I don't know how do you back this up
and plus, it's not like we're talking about the strongest of entities when it comes to the NCAA anyway. They can't enforce anything. Look how long it takes them to make any kind of decision on anything, which is why Congress is getting involved in their nonsense. And so, like you said, the ketchup's out of the bottle. There's no going back. Now they're talking about retroactively punishing teams for NIL stuff that wasn't a rule when they was doing it. So how are you gonna punish them now?
Right.
Well, I think you can. I think you can do that part with the booster collectives. I think you can still regulate that piece of it. Of course, people they still have to do it the same way they did with booster payments or paying players or whatever the case may be for enticement and what have you. And so I think what you started to see was a boldness.
Oh yeah, they're in your face doing it. Yeah.
Yes, that's what you started to see. Like people just saying, "Yes, this is what we're doing." Like there's no sugarcoating it, trying to hide it. You know, we're offering such and such this, and it started to come out in the news that this kid is making $8 million still in high school. You know, just that type of boldness, I think, is what the NCAA and all the other people who are making these decisions said. This is just getting out of hand.
Well, I'll tell you the most glowing thing that pops up to my mind right now is the the unbelievable way the Isaiah Wong situation played out in Miami. I mean, that happened in real time, and he's like, "I'm not coming back."
I hadn't heard anything else about it because I was.
From what I understand, he's staying, right?
Yeah, he's staying.
Yeah, he's staying because
he's staying.
Well, and then the guy who I guess the booster or whoever did the deal with him, they're like, we're not renegotiating.
Right.
And the fact that I know that you're not renegotiating is kind of a problem. Like, why are y'all playing this out in the media? So,
yeah. But
that's kind of what you're talking about, Charlie.
Yes.
We're privy to something that's supposed to be this private moment of conversation, and we know everything about it.
That's why I said they had to come out with something because it became just too bold. Like it was willy-nilly, like it's okay to have these pay-for-play type of schemes when that's not, quote unquote, what the intent of NIL was for. But now, as we've said, time when this happened, that this could be an issue. And now, as we saw with Isaiah Wong at Miami, someone got paid more than he did. And they know it. And now he wants to hold out and all these different types of things. I think we're at the forefront of just seeing how bad this can be. Who's going to be the first player to hold out from their season,
right?
Because they didn't get the NIL deal that they were promised.
Right,
it's coming.
It is coming.
Yeah, it's inevitable. Yeah,
it is coming.
It started with the bowl players, and so when they first started doing it, everybody was like, "Oh, okay, this is just a one-off." Yeah. Well, as we see today, it's not a one-off.
Right.
I mean, people are, COVID moved the needle a little bit further to where now they're taking off the season to go prepare for the NFL draft or the draft or whatever, whatever the case may be. And so this thing is just going to keep moving, and we're just going to figure out who's going to be the first one to hold out from a season, just like the NFL, NBA. No, not really NBA, but the NFL for sure. Who's going to hold out because of contract negotiations?
Well, no, I think I know that was a Freudian slip of NBA, but I think you're going to see it transfer to every single one of the sports. I don't think there's going to be a place in the NCAA where you're not going to feel this.
But the NBA contract structure, the way it's structured, there is no holdout.
Say it again.
The way the NBA is structured, there is no holdouts. Just the way
your money is guaranteed. So
right, but what I'm saying is the choice of being able to make the money, because you don't have to wait to make the money anymore. That's what we're really talking about. I don't have to go to the NBA to make the money. I can make $5 million if I'm a 5-star top 10 prospect and potential prospect to the NBA draft, either in my after my freshman year or sophomore year, I can make $10 million right coming out of high school. And so I don't have to wait. I can make that money right out the gate. But if you're promised me this money to come to school A, and then all of a sudden you get squeamish because you think you're doing something or you shouldn't have done it or whatever, well, then I will hold out, or I'll go to overtime, or I'll go to the G League and transition that way. I think this is going to get way murkier before it gets cleaner. And it may never get clean at this point. They may have opened up the Pandora's box, and this is just what it is. And maybe the only fix is to create that what has been threatened for years now, is to create this new thing with the Power Fives, and now they can set up maybe the right boundaries for all of it. So I don't know, but we're in a weird place right now.
And like Charlie said, everything.
See, the dogs agree with me again.
Like Charlie said, everything sped up with COVID. So like everything that's happening was going to happen inevitably anyway. It just got sped up with COVID.
Right, we had time.
And I think eventually, because like I said, the NCAA, they're losing their grip on power every day, and so eventually the power, like you said, the Power Five is going to take over. And I feel sorry for the mid-majors of the world, the Western Kentuckys, the Murray States.
They're going to feel it.
Yeah, I mean, so those are the ones who are going to get left out of all of this, because eventually the Power Five is going to be fed up, and they're going to do what they want. They're going to set their own parameters, and that's going to be it.
Well, let me stay there for a second for both of you, because it feels like football is what is driving all of this.
Yeah.
But basketball is. So let's separate them for just a second. Is there a way to build the Power Five, whatever that's going to be, without damaging March Madness? Or is March Madness inevitably going to be deeply affected? Because that's a whole nother thing. Because if this Power Five thing happens the way that we all think that it's going to happen, then that essentially affects how March Madness unfolds. Because now it becomes a different thing, right? It's not. We're gonna.
Well,
how do you do it? I guess is the question.
Yeah, I think the conferences will expand. I mean, the Power Five are going to have like a ridiculous amount of teams in each.
Maybe
conference.
20 teams in every conference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever the case may be, so you won't totally have all the mid majors left out, I don't think. But you're not going to see was it Loyola Chicago?
They're out.
Yeah, you're not going to see that either.
They're out. Yeah.
You're talking about basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see that formula changing no time soon because of the money that is driven from top down. Because you think about, who was the school from New Jersey that was in it? Yeah, you think about St. Peter's. I mean, every year there's some form of a St. Peter's. And so with that money that St. Peter's made for their conference, goes a long ways to helping that conference and those schools, which keeps them afloat in some form of fashion. From the football part of it, now I could see that getting divided up from, Power Five to mid-major, having their own, pot of whatever, a playoffs type deal, which that's what they've been trying to do anyway, because they're not getting a fair shake at the
chance for a
championship as we speak. The only team that's kind of cracked that code has been Cincinnati as of late. And so I don't see the football and basketball splitting like entities in some form, because now you're talking about colleges having to split away from, sports on college campuses having to split from each other. and that is a disaster waiting to happen.
Well, shout out to my favorite coach, pull quote coach Mike Leach, who somehow was able to weave the Derby winner Rich Strike into a thematic lesson for all of us, saying, "Look, Rich Strike got a chance at the last minute to get in the Derby. See what happens when you let an underdog." Well done, Mike Leach. Well done. I can always count on you to pull something together. But I do think there's something there in what you're saying, Charlie, because it didn't even dawn on me until you said it. Maybe there's a way to take the mid-majors, and I don't know about creating a conference, but maybe the Notre Dame model of an independent type thing where they have their own thing, but they're independently being drawn out into. I don't know. It's a weird.
Maybe
it's
they
the
could
same.
do like what soccer does. Like, if like a bottom rung team in one of these Power 5 conferences, if they're terrible, they go down to the lower conference, and the champion of that smaller conference moves up. Maybe come up with that model. I think they should do that with football.
Well, Division II and Division III have their, tournaments. What's the other one? FCS.
Yeah.
FCS. I think they have their, 16 playoffs as well. Not FCS, but
yeah, no, Division 1, 2A, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't see why the mid majors can't do something like that. I know they want to jump in with the big boys to have an opportunity, but I'm at the point where, why can't we have our own like little same size schools, competing for a championship? Because at this point they hadn't let us into, the 8A class. So let's just go classes. They hadn't let us in the 8A class, and we're 7A. We're not as big as them.
Model,
yeah, we're not as big as them, but at least give us a chance to win a championship.
Right,
at our level.
Like the Bellarmins of the world, who still not allowed to play in the NCAA tournament. I mean,
shout out to our guy Scotty D.
they should be able to play for something.
The challenge of that though is financial, and this is the business model. Can we put them on a stage for that championship to where the money maybe isn't exactly the same, but it's close. If we came to see Beyonce, we at least got a chance to see her, right? You know what I'm saying? It's the warm-up act is just as good as the main stage. So I'd be in favor of that. I'd be in favor of a Western Kentucky versus Western Michigan State.
The only thing you're going to run into, though, is just the interest in ratings. I mean,
and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's the money part of it that gets tricky because it's not the same draw. And so, how do you, from a TV perspective, Charlie, you okay? We'll make sure Charlie Ward is okay before we
make sure Charlie didn't fall out of his chair or something.
Right, Charlie.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. All right. You're doing that, bro. That is not the podcast moment we're trying to have here today, Charlie.
We're not trying to be the news.
Right.
Hey, but one of the things is, I mean, you just mentioned that they have 2,600 student athletes in the transfer portal.
Right.
So with those 2,600 students, I don't know if that's football or basketball or what it is, but hopefully that's
all across the board. Yeah.
Depending upon how many football, probably more football than anything. If I was some of these mid-majors, I would go and start picking those student athletes up to help build my brand, so that I could compete at the highest level. I think some of them are doing it. I think most of them are doing it at this point. Because if they're still in the portal at a certain point, I mean, they got to make a decision. And so, I mean, that's where you should look at it if you're a mid-major.
And I think also
trying to build
with this transfer portal madness, I think for the mid-majors, you know, a 3A athlete that would have gone to a major, you know, one of the major conferences now, they may be more available to you now. You're not going to be the 5 and 4 stars are still going to go to the big schools, but the 3-star athlete who's probably good, some of them might be just as good as a 4-star. They just didn't have the exposure or whatever.
Right.
They could end up at mid majors, and you can build your brand that way.
But again, first of all, both of you are 1,000% correct. The challenge again is the other part that we don't talk. We're still, that makes it all murky, which is that NIL piece. Can I essentially benefit from going to Western Michigan? Yeah, I know I can walk into Western Michigan and start, but is there enough local deals and regional deals that I can do to justify me not going to a lower or higher mid-major or even, you know, one of the big boys?
Okay.
And you can only go where they want you to.
Let me just say this, because this is was driving me up a wall right now with all of this with all this stuff, man. It's just so disheartening.
Let's single them out for this. This seems like it's gonna be good. Go ahead.
No, it's not gonna be good. This is the thing that's going on, because, you know, in this day and age, everyone wants to be guaranteed something without. Not say everyone, but a lot of people want to be guaranteed something without putting forth whatever it is they're wanting, based upon what they've done in the past, even though they haven't done it on the same level,
right?
On the level that they're going. And I totally get it, but at some point we have to prove our worth, and that's in any business. You may come in at one point knowing, just like a lot, you know, coaches that come in with big paydays in some form of fashion, and if they're not doing their what the contract says as far as wins and losses, they're out. And so the expectation is high, you know, coming in based upon what people have been giving you. And, you know, what I'm hearing from some of these coaches that are recruiting kids today, certain kids, that's like they're talking about the school, they're talking about, you know, all the different things, but at the end, they said if you don't talk NIL, then you don't have a chance to recruit certain type of kids. And which I totally get, totally understand it, but that shouldn't be the determining factor. In my book, it shouldn't be the determining factor on whether you go to that school or not, because it has to be more. That can be a conversation, but sometimes kids, that's what they're expecting. Like, if you don't talk NIL, then they don't even want to listen.
Right.
And when I'm, you know, helping kids through this, through mentoring them, you know, I just tell them, man, hey, don't let that be the driving force to your decision-making process, because there's a lot of other things that should go into that. And even if they don't talk NIL, you know, go and earn your opportunities, you know, and when you earn those opportunities, they will come. You'll probably get more.
Right. I think about that because I just talked to Purdue's head coach Jeff Brom yesterday. He was in town yesterday, and I talked to him, and I asked him about NIL. And, you know, he's like, you know, it's out of control. He's like, but it's one of those things, like, you have to adjust and you have to go along with it because you still have to recruit, and as long as that's there, you gotta adjust. You gotta stay ahead of the game. But he's just fiery on the field and fiery when it comes to coaching. But when it comes to that type of stuff, he's kind of reserved on it. He's not gonna go too much into it. But you think about a school like Purdue, for example, great school, especially for engineering. It's a Big Ten school. You're getting a Big Ten education, but how much NIL can they really afford in West Lafayette, Indiana?
I mean, the local pizza place
can do in West Lafayette, Indiana.
Right, the local pizza place, a couple of car dealerships. What are we talking about right there?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to West Lafayette, Indiana. I've been there once.
Not a lot there.
There ain't a whole lot there.
Right.
And this is a Big Ten school, so you got to wonder about schools like that, because they're not like, because Duke's small campus too, but Duke's Duke.
Yeah,
But
those schools are going to get still going to get their kids, the same type of kids that they've been getting. Of course, some of them may slip here and there, but those types of schools are going to continue to get the same quality players that they're getting probably today, because they're getting certain types of kids. They're not, if y'all understand what I mean, they're not.
No, absolutely. Right.
They're not getting 5 stars.
It's like Milt Wagner said, they're a smart school.
So they're